Welcome back, students. So in this lecture we'll try to understand what was that software engineering process followed in your traditional generation followed to the new way of your software approaches. So over past 2 to 3 decades the conventional model were used, and it was emphasized that this conventional model was supposed to be changed, or it is supposed to be improvised. So there after around 2 to 2.5 decades, the new way of using your software engineering process come into picture. So in this particular process, or in this particular lecture, we will try to understand what are the principles of your conventional software engineering model. So first, conventional software engineering model we have already discussed. This works with your waterfall model. So we have already said what is this waterfall model. So waterfall model is the basic conventional software engineering model what we are going to take now. So in this, the first principle you are supposed to understand is you are supposed to create a quality product. So quality of your product is very important. So if the product delivered is not up to the quality, the customer may not be able to accept your software. So second, you are supposed to create your high quality software here. So when we discuss about your high quality software, say your first version of your software was released already, and that is supposed to be improvised as on the requirements of the software, on the requirements of the customer. Sorry. So this improvisation will fall under your high quality software engineering. Next, give products early. So give products early is your third principle. What do I mean by this is, say you are striving hard to create your software process, or you are striving hard to create your software, but if the software was not delivered on your scheduled time, or if the software is not delivered as per the requirements of the customer, it is sheer waste if the customer is not going to accept your software. So providing your software early before your customer requirements will help you out in managing your works very easily. Next, you are supposed to determine the problem with respect to writing your requirements. So here, with respect to your requirements, you are supposed to understand what are the problems you are going to identify. Say what I mean by this is, when you are writing down your software requirements, or when you are working with your requirements phase. Say the customer is going to give your requirements, and you are supposed to take down those requirements as per the customer's suggestion or customer's requirement. So whenever you are writing these requirements or you are documenting these requirements, you need to also understand, like the developer need to understand what are the possible problems if these requirements are taken into consideration, and what are the possible problems if some requirements are missing in your software. So that is another principle when you go with your conventional software engineering process. Next, you are supposed to evaluate your software design alternatives. Right. So here this fifth model, it is saying you that you are not supposed to rely on only single model. So if you are planning to work on with some other new model which is already in your picture, so you are supposed to understand you are supposed to understand the functionality of that particular model, and you are supposed to check the evaluation of that particular model whether it is going to satisfy the requirements of the software or not, requirements of your customer or not. So you are going to make use of here this software design model states that what is the architecture you are using, what are the algorithms you are using, can you improvise these particular algorithms, whether your algorithms are going to justify the requirements of the customer or not. All these fall under your evaluation related to your software alternatives. Sixth one, you can go with use different languages for different phases. Different languages for different phases. So what do I mean by this is, so you should not rely on a single language or single programming language in order to work with your process development. Say as per the development in your programming languages, you can make use of different programming languages which satisfy your customer requirements. So for each and every phase, based on the complexity of your problem, you can make use of different type of problems or different types of languages, and start developing your project. So next you can go with inspect the code, or you can go with this phase called as put techniques before your tools. So techniques before tools. So what I mean by this is, if an undisciplined software engineer is working with any particular project development, say he might not understand which tool is going to work. So you are supposed to be, if you are working on any particular project, first point is you are supposed to be a disciplined software engineer, and you need to understand which tools you are going to use for which type of in which particular phase. Say when you go with your development, which tools you are using for your development, like your IDEs and whatever. When you are going with your testing, which testing tools you are using. So you should be aware of these different types of tools that are supposed to be used. Next, you can go with inspect your code. Inspect the code. So what do I mean by this inspecting your code is, you are supposed to understand the code which you have written in a better way. So if you don't understand what is the code you have used in order to develop your software, you cannot understand whether it is going to justify the objectives of the customer or not. So you are supposed to clearly understand the code what you have written. So in order to understand that particular code, you can revisit the code once again and start working with your project development. So you are going to good management, right? So next point is your good management. So what I mean by this good management here is, if the management is good towards your process development, say your project outcome could be good here. So what I mean by this is, like if your management is supporting the good latest technologies to work with your project, then you can also make use of, you can also have enthusiasm to work with your project and increase the quality of your software. So that supportability should be provided by your management, and that is what we are talking about, your good management here. Next, you can go with people. So what do I mean by these people is, these people are the key to success of your project development. Say, highly skilled people are necessary when you go with working with your project here. So these people, highly skilled people, if they are aware of all the different technologies related to your software development, your project development will go as per the requirements of your customer. So these highly skilled people play a major role when you go with this people. So you require highly skilled people at different phases. So that is your next objective. Next, you can go with your objective like take the responsibility. Take responsibility. Say you are working on a project, and if say you are working on that particular project without any responsibility, then you cannot estimate the outcome of that particular project. So you should be held responsible, or you should take the complete responsibility of your project development. Only then you can identify, or only then you can have the complete command on your project. So that is what you are taking responsibilities. Say if taking responsibility also works with something like, if your software fails and if you are not bothered about what is the bug that has raised your particular software to fail, then the development what you have done till that particular phase is of no use. So whenever a software error has come into picture, whenever a bug has come into picture, so you yourself need to initiate, take the responsibility of identifying that particular bug and recover them. That is how the responsibility related to your conventional software engineering was working so far. So you are supposed to understand customer priorities. You are supposed to understand customer priorities. So what I mean by this understanding customer priorities here is, in your conventional model, say whenever you are taking down the requirements of the customer, you need to understand what is that thing your customer is expecting from your end, and what are major requirements in that particular software in its requirements, and what can be negotiated or what can be removed throughout your project development. So you are supposed to understand the major priorities from that particular project development, you are supposed to understand the major requirements from your customer, and you can start working according to the priorities of that particular customer. Next, you can go with design for change. So So what do I mean by this design for changes? Like you might be using different components to work with your project. You might be using different software programs to work with your project. You might be using different architectures to work with your project, right? So whenever you have designed any of this, right? If there are any changes required in that particular software, say whatever design you have created, it should be able to accommodate these particular changes. So that is how your design for change works with, and design without documentation. Design without documentation. So what is this is, if you have created a design for which can accommodate your changes here, but if you are designing that particular thing without any documentation, then it is not considered as a design in your conventional model. So what do I mean by this is, whenever you are creating a design, what are the different tools that are used in your design, you are supposed to define with this particular documentation. So this documentation will give you a clear picture of what is the design you are following, so that anyone who is going to revisit your document once again can understand or make modifications in that particular design. If you don't use this design, if you don't document your design, then it cannot be considered, because changes cannot be reflected into your project here, right? And next you can go with, don't test your own code. So what do I mean by this is, you have created your code and you are trying to test your code. You may not understand whether it is working perfectly in all different situations or not. So in order to test your code, you are supposed to take the help of any particular testers who are not related to your project, and check whether your testing was perfectly working or not. So you are not supposed to test your own code here. So that is what your conventional model works with your don't test your code. And analyze your cause for errors. Analyze cause for errors, right? So when I go with this last point, analyze cause for errors. So if you want to create a more effective software, you need to understand what are the different causes for that particular error, at which particular point your error was created, or which particular point is going to create your error. So this after identifying your errors, you are supposed to try to fix those errors. So the better way of finding your errors and fixing your errors is only through this analyzing phase. So this will help you out in understanding what are the different types of errors that you have come across, and at which particular location, and how you can rectify those errors. So these are the different principles your conventional software model will work with. And next we'll try to understand the basic principles of your modern software management. So first is, base the process of an architecture. So first related to your modern software management, the first point to understand is, you are supposed to create a central design element. Central design element. So what is the central design element is, when you start with your in your software project, modern software project management, first you are supposed to create your software initially based on the central design, and after creating your software design completely, you can start coding and testing that particular software, right? In order to work with this, you have your modern software called as your iterative lifecycle model. So iterative lifecycle model, right? So in this particular central design, what you are doing is, first you are going to design your software, then you are going to integrate your software into your project development, and then you are going to work with your testing phases. In order to perform these operations, you are supposed to establish one model and start working on that particular model. So this particular model we are talking about is your iteration model. So this iterative model or iterative lifecycle model, what it is going to do is, it is going to generate your software in an iterative phase or in a continuous evaluation phase in this form. Say for example, your requirements are started at this particular point. Sorry, your requirements are started from this particular point. In your first iteration, some part of your project was released, and in your second iteration, the new changes related to your project will be upgraded. So this is, so you are supposed to create your life cycle in such a way that it is going to generate your software in different phases at different life cycle, in different phases of this particular life cycle model. So this is almost same like your waterfall model, but the thing is here, at each and every phase you start upgrading your, or enhancing your software requirements. So that is how you are going to work with your iterative life cycle model. Third, you are supposed to transition your design models. Transition design models. So what is this transition design models? So you are supposed to make use of the technologies which will help you out in transitioning this particular design models into your component models. So component models are nothing but these are the models. These are the models related to your software development, right? So you are from this particular design, you are supposed to understand what are different components available and start creating your component models in that form. So this particular component model, it is like this component model can be created by using your human software code or an automated code also. Human code or your automated code. So you are starting with your coding phase here, and this coding phase depends upon the different types of components that are utilized in your software. So this is your third phase that you follow when you go with your modern software management. Fourth is you can enhance the change, right? So enhance the change. So here what I mean by this is, you are supposed to right, your modern software management is going to provide you enhancing freedom here. So you can change your model throughout by using different types of tools that support your software development. So this change will help you in increasing the software productivity also. And fifth, you can go with capture design artifacts. Capture design artifacts. Right. So based on the models that you are using, you are going to make use of different set of notations. So each and every notation is going to make use of different set of artifacts. Artifacts are nothing but the entities related to your software development. So you can make use of the different entities that are related to your software development by using the models, and you can start identifying what are the necessary artifacts in your project and what are unnecessary artifacts in your product. So this will also help you out in measuring what are the objectives of your software. And next you can go with right. So you can go with instrument the process, right? So your software process life cycle, it is going to work with this project. What I want to say is, it is going to like your software process life cycle is going to work with this life cycle model, different phases here. So this instrument to the process understands what is the progress of your project, and you can also enhance this particular progress by using your software modern software model. And next you can demonstrate, right? So here once you start transitioning demonstration says you are going to project your project here. So here once your artifacts are identified, in your first phase your software was released. So you are going to provide a demonstration on that particular project related to all the objectives of your project. If those objectives are verified and if some other requirements come into picture, then this demonstration will help you out in enhancing your software once again. So that is how you can go with your demonstration. So this also will help you out in selling your project, like how effective your project is working. And next you can go with planning. So you can plan the intermediate releases related to your software project here. So this will help you out in understanding your errors at the early phases and rectifying them. And last, you can go with establishing a configurable project that economically scalable. So this means that any particular process, any single process is not responsible to perform all the requirements of the customer. So in order to meet the requirements of the customer, you are supposed to create a software which makes use of different phases. So this process is going to, once your project is developed, this last phase is going to understand what is the return on investment related to your project here. The different objectives of your modern software life cycle management. Thank you. That is all for this particular lecture. Let us meet in your next lecture.